Shalom, everyone. This is Amir Tsarfati. I am live from Galilee, from Israel. I returned back from Miami, Florida after a wonderful, wonderful time. Literally, I was there for one day. I flew in. I landed there on Friday night. I spoke throughout Saturday and Sunday afternoon. I returned to the airport to catch the plane back home that brought me literally from the airport. I came home, changed, took a shower, changed, and immediately went to vote with my family. And from there, we celebrated my son's 15th birthday. And from there, we were glued to TV until, of course, the exit polls were published. And my family was protesting about my intention to have an update last night. So I decided to move it to today. And thank you for your understanding. So let's start with this, okay? Last night, for the third time, actually yesterday, for the third time, Israel went to vote. And the reason why we went to vote for the third time is because we are in a political deadlock, which means there is no side on the political map that has the 61 seats that are required to be able to form a government. And I will explain to you what it means. I'll even show you two different charts here that will make you understand the complicated Israeli political system, unlike the one in America or many of those in different parts of the world. We are a parliamentary democracy, which means we don't vote to a specific person. We vote for the parliament, which means we vote for parties. The leader of the largest party is normally the one that the president of Israel is giving him the mandate to form a government. The problem is when you have a parliament made of 120 members, you need at least 61 in order to form a government. Why? Because you need at least 61 votes to support your government when there is any vote in the parliament, especially non-confidence vote, which means they can topple the government. So you need 61 hands that will vote yay with a government. And if you don't have them, then you'll never be able to function. Now, you can, of course, you can try and dare to present before Parliament a government with only less than 60, but it might fall within a couple of days. So there's no point of doing that. As of now, let me explain to you what we have right now. So I'm going to put on the screen right now, I'm going to put, as you can see, a chart with the results as for now. And let me explain why it's not final. There's roughly 400,000 votes that have not been counted yet. And that is a huge, 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 huge difference. Just a second, folks. Okay. Speaking to my little boy. I want to show you something with him in a few seconds. So what we have here, as you can see, the Likud party, Netanyahu's party, basically reached 36. Some say by the time we end up counting everything, it might be even 37. The opponent party, the one that wanted to be Netanyahu, instead of Netanyahu, the prime minister, they only reached 32 seats, which means they are no longer the largest party, and they cannot even try to lead in order to form a government. And we have the joint list, the 15 seats. This is the joint list of all the Arab parties in Israel. It's consisted of 4 major Arab parties that for the first time this year join hands to form one list in order to get a powerful influence in the government, in the parliament, excuse me, and they reach 15 seats. This is unprecedented, and this is from last time. Arabs actually went up. Arabs went up 10% in their showing to vote from if I'm not mistaken, 59% came to vote to 69% this time, which is a huge, huge thing. So we're talking about that. Then you have the Israeli ultra-Orthodox parties. One of them is 10, one of them is 7. Then you've got the far left party is 7. You've got the Avigdor Lieberman party, which is the one that is giving us all the problems. It is 7, and we've got the right-wing party, which is 6. Now you probably are confused, and so I would like to show you another chart that might make you understand better what is going on here. So folks, take a look at how everything is looking right now on this big round chart. You can clearly see that the right wing only has 59. If you take the Likud, the ultra-Orthodox, and the right wing, and you put them together, they only reach 59 seats. On the other hand, the left in Israel is nothing but 39. If you add to them the 15 of Arab votes, they're already something much greater. And if you put the 7 of Avigdor Lieberman, who was Netanyahu's chief of staff, and now he is his biggest rival right now. For some reason, he hates Netanyahu more than he likes Israel, and he's willing to send us probably to a 4th round of elections. That's where we stand right now. So yes, Benjamin Netanyahu last night had a landslide victory when it comes to a great comeback from the last elections, where he only reached 31 seats to a 36-37 one. And he's definitely the leader of the largest party in Israel. So there is no doubt that Netanyahu will have to be the next prime minister of some sort of government. The problem is that he needs 2 more votes in order to form a government. And we are hoping and praying that by the end of the day, by the way, by the end of tomorrow, when all 400,000 votes that are still left to count will be counted, which is the votes of the people in the hospital, and the votes of the people in the prisons, and the votes of the people that are soldiers, and the votes, we also have about 4,000 Israelis that are quarantined, which means they were on flights who came from Italy, and because at least one person on that flight had been tested positive for coronavirus, the entire flight is now self-quarantine at home. Well, we don't take risks with them, so we gave them different booths to vote in, and so 4,000 of them showed up. My point is this, folks: Israel, and we'll talk about the coronavirus later, but Israel is taking time to count all of those that did not come to their natural, next to their home voting station. So we are having that. By the way, Elon, I want to show you something. So Netanyahu won last night, and my little boy, Elon, went to school this morning. We live in a very liberal town. All of the people in this town are either left-wing or all the way to voting for Arab parties, although they're not Arabs. So my little boy comes to school, and today they had a Purim party where you dress like someone or something. And my little boy, because maybe his father is talking a lot about Donald Trump, he went to school, and first he was confronted by friends because he said that he supports Netanyahu and his family voted for Netanyahu, and everybody were not happy with that. But then when everybody put on their costumes, come over here, Elon. Look at this little boy. Okay, this little boy is Donald Trump. Okay, so okay, let me show you this. Okay, and he was the only one that was a Donald Trump person in the school, and he didn't understand why people didn't care much about that one as well. We are a very different family here in our town. We're conservatives. We love Donald Trump because he's a great friend of Israel. He's also a great friend of Bible believing people, and he's having great biblical policies. And we love Benjamin Netanyahu. We believe that he is a great leader, a lover of Israel, and conservative. And so these are two things that don't make us popular at all in our street here in our town. But this little boy is a very courageous boy, and he's willing to take all of that, but and not get scared. Do you want to say something to everyone? אתה רוצה להגיד להם משהו? Okay. אז יאללה, להתראות חמוד. Okay. So that was that was Elon, the one that I asked for prayers for. As you remember, he was very, very sick 2 weeks ago, and thankfully he has fully recovered. He's good, and we thank you for that. But anyway, let's go back to the chart. As now you can see, Israel by tomorrow might know if we have those 2 required seats, or there are one of 3 options. One option is to form a national unity government, which means the second party will sit with the first party and form a big government that will enable us to annex the West Bank, the Golan Heights, Judeans, the Jordan Valley, and all of that, and to implement the deal of the century. The other option is that some from the left parties will defect to the right blockade and help us form it. And the third one, believe it or not, it's on the table, is 4th round of elections. Now, I know it sounds almost unbelievable, almost imaginary, but this is an option on the table today. So again, my prayer is that by next week, Netanyahu will find either will count and find 2 more mandates, 2 more seats that will be there, his, within those 400,000 that their votes were not counted yet. Or my prayer is that a couple people will just defect and move to Netanyahu's side. I don't think that national unity government can work, only because I believe that the other side is interested in removing Netanyahu no matter what. And Netanyahu is not going to allow that. So it won't last too long before the government will dissolve itself if we have a national unity government. I prefer the other first 2 options. And so that's where we are right now. And I'm going to remove now, I'm going to go these 2. And so I hope you understand right now that yes, Netanyahu won. Yes, he's the leader of the largest party in Israel right now. Yes, it was an amazing comeback. Yes, he called it the sweetest victory of his life. And yes, it was unbelievable, and we were very joyful and very, very happy last night. But again, until we get 61 votes, we won't be able to say we finally have a government. We finally don't have to go to another round of elections. We finally don't have to lean on somebody else's defecting from another camp. And we finally, and that's what I care more about, is we finally can move forward with the historic opportunity to annex all the Israeli settlements in Judea and Samaria, all of the Jordan Valley and the northern part of the Dead Sea, and all of that. So that's, of course, part of the deal of the century. This is a one-time thing. Israel has never, ever, ever had anything like that since we were established in 1948. All the deals were horrible for us. This deal is actually probably the only one we can live with. Do I like the fact that it says on the paper Palestinian states? I don't. Do I think there will be one? No, I don't. As I told you that. But again, the fact that every single Jew that lives in Judea and Samaria will stay in his house, and the fact that the Palestinians will have no border with any other country from where they can smuggle weapons or terrorists or whatever, and the fact that Israel for the first time will have borders recognized all around and will be able to finally remove this question of land for peace, and we move forward with prosperity for peace, then of course things will be better. Now, people, you have to understand, I don't believe that this peace is going to bring peace. That this is all about, I mean, that's we're going to be now living forever and ever in great harmony with who we have here. But I do think that this is an opportunity for us to get more and to give nothing. And so I'm saying go for it. Go for it. This is the first plan where we're not supposed to give land for peace. We're actually getting land for peace. So I think it's wonderful, and we'll hopefully do it. But it can only be doable if there will be a government that is inclined to more the right wing than the left and the liberals. So that's the situation right now. Benjamin Netanyahu last night had a landslide victory when it comes to becoming once again the leader of the largest party and the undefeated prime minister of Israel. But again, we're waiting for the next day or two for the final results of the voting, and then we will see. If we do not have 61 votes, we might have to work on some other deals that might take weeks or even months before we make sure that we can dissolve or we can resolve the issue. Another thing, the coronavirus, 77 countries are affected by it. Every time I'm reporting, it's almost doubling itself. The last one I gave with Pastor Bob Kopney, it was just 30 something. It is now in 77 countries or territories around the world. The World Health Organization just released right now an information where it says the coronavirus, listen to this, is deadlier than the flu. However, it can be contained. In other words, if we make the right steps, we can stop the spreading. That's what they say. The good news about the coronavirus is that it attacks and kills a very small range of ages. So we can focus on how to treat them better and how to not expose them to this virus in a higher priority. Most of the people that die from the coronavirus are people with some history of health issues and people that are above 65, 70. So when you know that, you'll take care of these people even more so. But what I want you to know, that more than the coronavirus being a health risk, it is a disaster for the economies around the world. And I think that it's more the hysteria and it's more the lack of transparency from the side of China and Iran that causes everyone to be very alarmed. Now, let me explain, folks. It started in Wuhan, in China, and from China it spread to Southeast Asia. Somehow it got to Iran, to the Shiite holy city of Qom, and an outbreak started there, and they haven't found patient zero. So they don't know who brought it, where from, because once you know who brought it, you can immediately trace back where he was, who he met with, and quarantine all of these people. When you don't have patient zero, and that's the case with Italy also, then it's hard to fight this highly contagious virus. So look what we have right now. China affected Asia. Iran is affecting the Middle East. And thankfully it's Iran, because nobody goes to Iran and back to Israel. So this is not our problem. The issue that we have is two Israelis, or three, came from the cruise ship that is in Japan, the Diamond Princess. They were the first, and all the other 9 cases we have are people who came back from Italy. So Israel doesn't have the virus. Israel doesn't have people infecting others here. And all the people that are quarantined in Israel are people that were on the plane from Italy, or with people who came from the ship in park in Yokohama in Japan. Now, Israel is one of the very toughest countries in the world in taking extra precaution measures with the coronavirus, and therefore it is not spreading here. We do not hear of people infecting people that infect people and all of that here. We have the very few cases here have been very collaborative. They collaborate, they tell us where they were, who, and the public understands everything. It did not affect our elections. We're the first elections in the world in the midst of the coronavirus hysteria, which is worldwide. And right now, Israel is thinking maybe we should stop people coming from France, as well as it is apparently from Italy. It started going all over Europe. And most of the cases of people in America are also from people who came from China or from Italy. So we have 3 major centers of the outbreak. In China, it started. In Iran, and Iran is infecting the Arab world. By the way, the deputy speaker of the Iranian parliament just announced today that 23 parliament members are infected. The deputy, the vice president for women issues, for women rights, is infected by it. Very important high government officials not only infected but died from it. And all because it started in the city of Qom. And in the city of Qom in Iran, there's a mosque there. And one of the very strange, I guess, customs that they have in that mosque is that people come and lick the gates and the locks into that mosque, literally lick with their tongues. And it became a trend of some of the younger Iranians to go to Qom, and in light of the coronavirus hysteria, and saying, we trust Allah. So on camera, they lick all those, I believe, infected locks and gates, and then they, of course, do it on live on Facebook or whatever. I mean, I cannot even understand where they were when God gave brains to people. They probably were in line for ice cream or something. But how in the world can people do that? But I do know that Iranians are infecting most of the Middle East right now. And that is what I tried to tell you before. Iran is now more isolated than ever before in its history. Iran canceled last Friday's prayers for the first time in 40 years of the Ayatollah's regime. Last Friday, there were no public prayers in any mosques. Do you understand what's going on there right now? So my point is, Iran has never been so isolated, and all of that is not because of any of its policies or any of its shenanigans or any of its supporting terrorism or attacking or striking. It is because of a tiny little microscopic virus, which is phenomenal. Again, even in Italy, patient 0 has not been identified, and therefore they're clueless. They don't know what to do. It's affecting. It started in the Lombardy county, which is where the city of Milan is, and all over northern Italy. But it's before we knew it, it spread down to Rome and now to Naples and other places all around the country. And the problem is, let me explain. Italy is one of the most toured and visited countries in the world. And because they don't know who patient 0 is, tourists who are visiting sites they're exposed to a lot of people breathing, and they go to restaurants and they go to tour sites and churches and other places. And because there is no knowledge of what is going on there and who infecting who and what, many people go back home to their countries from, and then that's when they, without knowing, infecting others. And the other thing about the coronavirus, which caused me to believe it's a man-made virus, is the fact that this is a virus that has the longest incubating time of up to 27 days. And it also is a virus that will not, that actually is a super contagious, more than you can imagine. So here we are in an amazing pandemic that took a long time for the world to understand that it's there. But what you see is economies around the world that are affected by it. Now, people are asking me, Amir, is it safe to come to Israel in light of the coronavirus? Well, let me tell you, Israel is one of the safest places in the world from the coronavirus. And why? We know exactly who has it here, and we know where he came from. So we can track down where they were, who they met with, and all of these people are quarantined. Therefore, the Israelis are not, we only have 10 to 12 cases, and we know all of them, and we know where all of them had it from. And again, it's either coming from Italy or coming from China or from the cruise ship, excuse me. And we have everyone that ever came in touch with them quarantined, and none of them became sick, by the way, but we quarantined them just in case. So Israel is probably the only country where you cannot say that thousands of people walk with the coronavirus and they don't even know they have it, because we know exactly who came with it, when, how, and we take good care of it. So yes, our tours are going on. In fact, we have big tours coming to Israel. We have no problems with it. And I would be more, I guess I would be more afraid to stay and just be about my own business in America or in Europe, certainly in Southeast Asia, than to be in Israel. When I arrived in Israel from Miami, I had a sigh of relief, because I know that here I'm very safe and secured from this. Over there, you just don't know who came from Italy, who brought it with him, and all of that. So people are asking me, is it dangerous to come to Israel because of coronavirus? I would say, I think it's more dangerous where you live right now than Israel. So I just needed to say that to all of you. This is super safe. And I think that the enemy is putting those fears in so many people because he wants to steal the blessing that can come with coming to Israel. And so tomorrow I'm going to have a tour coming from Tennessee, which, by the way, I grieve with the Tennesseans for the terrible results of the hurricane from last night. And I think it's a tornado. I'm not sure. At least I know of a toddler that was found dead. But devastated areas. I've seen pictures of before and after. It's terrible. I also wanted to talk for a little bit about this situation in northern Syria. Ladies and gentlemen, we already talked about it before, that at the end of 2018, let me start with this. The civil war in Syria began in the southern part of Syria, actually not too far from the Israeli border, city of Daraa and other cities around. And when the Syrians managed to, surround the rebels, and then the Russians came, what happened is that they allowed a safe passage of the rebels all the way to northern Syria, to a place called Idlib, which is a big city not far from the Turkish border. Turkey, who is the patron and the guardian of the Sunnis, wanted to protect the Sunni rebels from the Shiite Syrian soldiers and and militias that are there. So Turkey brokered a deal in Sochi, in Russia, right by the Black Sea. And that deal was that Turkey will be in charge of the Idlib enclave with its own outposts all around, and it will guard those people and take care of them, while the Iranians and the Russians will have two steps backwards, their own security zone. And of course, the Syrian army was not allowed to get there. Now, after the Syrian army quenched all the centers of rebellion, they decided together with the Russians that we do not want to leave that island of rebels there. We do not want to create another Gaza or another, I don't know, Kosovo. So what we want to do is, although we violate the Sochi agreement, while we can, let's go in, take over, finish with them, and declare victory and the liberation of all Syrian lands from any foreign entity. Well, Turkey was not willing to allow that to happen. The Turks suffered great casualties over the weekend. I gave a special update from the Zurich airport where almost 50 soldiers from Turkey were actually killed in a Russian bombardment that the Russians blame, of course, the Syrian Air Force. The Syrians said, well, we don't have those airplanes flying over there. Anyway, long story short, Erdogan got so angry that he started 2 days ago Operation Spring Shield. And he is now streaming into Idlib area thousands of tanks and armored vehicles. But for the first time, ladies and gentlemen, UAVs, the big drones, the killer drones, are now the major players in this whole thing. And Israel is watching from the side. We're watching how Turkish UAVs and Russian UAVs, I mean, the warfare has changed dramatically from F-16s and Sukhois and all of that, which, by the way, Turkey's F-16s gunned down and shut down a Syrian Sukhoi 27, which is made in Russia, very old one. And I mean, real planes are still there. Even now, another Syrian plane was gunned down. But more of what we see now is the UAVs, the drones. This is the future battlefield, folks, and we're watching that, and we're pretty amazed that how technologically advanced the Turkish army is, and we take notes. That's what I can tell you. So I think I covered most of what I wanted to talk about, folks. And again, let me explain to you that although I'm very happy for Netanyahu's victory last night, if I can ask for any prayer, is that miraculously over the next 2 days, 2 more seats would be added to the right-wing blockade, to the right-wing bloc through the counting of the last 400,000 votes. So by next week, we can move forward to start or form a conservative government in Israel. So this is basically it. Last thing I wanted to tell you, folks, is that the Miami conference was unbelievably blessed. Hundreds of people showed up. And I also want you to know that one of the messages I gave there was this satanic plot to reduce Earth's population. And I went through a lot of things there. One of the things I mentioned is, of course, the vaccine trap. Well, not only in America, but it's all over the world, but in America it's huge. One of the people who came to the conference, who sat in the first row, was Dr. Wakefield. Dr. Wakefield is the one who produced the movie Vexed, VEXXED. Is an amazing British doctor who was exposed to the scam of the vaccines. He saw how terrible it is. He was not going to participate in this, but yet to expose it. And It's a long story, but I would like to host Dr. Wakefield in the next few weeks to tell us what he found out. But not only that, we'll talk more about other issues as well that I believe the globalist agenda and the globalist one world government cabal is injecting into our world, believe it or not, literally to reduce the population here. We'll talk about many other subjects. By the way, I do believe that the coronavirus is a man-made thing, and I do believe that this is part of how to get rid of people. I don't think they hide their intentions any longer, and we'll talk about that as well. We'll talk about late-term abortions. We'll talk about marriage confusion. We'll talk about gender confusion, redefining marriage. We'll talk about also the climate change. Believe it or not, climate change is calling for less marriages and mostly less children, so we will keep Earth clean. I mean, I'm telling you, I went through everything from Genesis 1 of how God is the one who told us to be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth, and how we see the demonic intention to reduce the population in so many mean, terrible things. So we'll tackle them also, but I do want you to know, folks, that the message will be available shortly after we edit it and we get rid of all the stuff that was before and after, so we can post it online. So you'll get the entire conference as well as that message itself online not far from now. Today we launched my new book, The Day Approaching. You can get it on Amazon.com, and if you haven't got our email, it's because you're not probably getting our newsletter. Get our newsletter from beholdisrael.org. Just subscribe to our newsletter. You'll get a lot of stuff every week. My newsletter. We've got also the Bible Bites devotionals and many more things. Good, folks. So I think I've said everything. I think we don't want to make it longer than it is already. Thank you for listening, and allow me to conclude this with the Aaronic blessing. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance towards you and give you peace. In the midst of the coronavirus hysteria, in the midst of all the wars and rumors of wars and tornadoes and hurricanes and pestilences, the peace that surpasses all understanding, that can come only from the Lord of peace, who is also not only the truth, the way, but also the life. And he wants us to sanctify life and not death, to cherish life and not death, and to promote life but not death. He does not want to reduce Earth population. He wants us to all come to the saving knowledge of Jesus. And it's his name we pray. Amen. Amen. Thank you. I love you. God bless you. Follow us on Instagram, Behold Israel, Facebook, Behold Israel, YouTube, Behold Israel, and Twitter, Behold Israel. God bless you, and shalom.